Speaker Gingrich, this is a question from Darlene Ramundi from Maitland, Florida. How do you convince skeptics that you can defeat Barack Obama if you are the nominee?
Well, I mean, I don't know if I'll convince skeptics, but people who have an open mind, it's pretty straightforward. In 1980, I worked with the Reagan campaign. Ronald Reagan ended up beating Jimmy Carter by a bigger number of states than Franklin Roosevelt beat Herbert Hoover by. In 1984, I worked with the Reagan campaign. He carried 49 states. In 1988, when Bush was down by 19 points, I got involved in defining Dukakis, and that was in May, and by November, Bush won by 6, which meant that 1 out of every 4 Americans switched between May and November. In 1994, we designed a totally positive campaign called The Contract with America. The largest one-party increase in American history was 1994. For an off-year election, we gained 9 million votes over 1990. The Democrats lost 1 million votes. We controlled the House the first time in 40 years. In 1996, I designed a campaign knowing we'd probably lose the presidency. So we had to get reelected to a majority in the House while having Clinton win on the Democratic side. It is the first time we had a reelected majority since 1928. So I've had a fairly long experience of trying to figure out how do you communicate with the American people and how do you get this done. Now let's look at the other team. We nominated a moderate in 1996. Failed. Go back and look at the film of the debates. Couldn't distinguish himself. We nominated a moderate in 2008. Go back and look at the debates. If we nominate a moderate, we are in real trouble. It's that simple. Now, here's a simple illustration. Despite all these various attack ads that are so phony that even Rush Limbaugh was taking them apart, and Sarah Palin wrote an article about him yesterday. Don Wildman came out today and said some very strong things. Look, they're silly. It's nonsense. I've been around longer than some of you have been alive. You know, I have a very long track record. It's always been Republican, unlike my major opponent, who voted in the Democratic primary in 1992 and gave money to Democratic congressional candidates. I've been an active conservative. I went to a Goldwater organizing meeting in Columbia, South Carolina in 1964. I mean, this idea that I'm not a conservative verges on being goofy. So start with that. I can run a campaign with Obama where I'm over here and he's over there. So far apart that most of his $1 billion of attack ads will fall in the middle and be irrelevant. You can't take something like Romneycare, which has tax-paid abortions and has Planned Parenthood written in by name. You can't take Romneycare and Obamacare and have a rational debate. They're not different. That's just a fact. So I believe I have a dramatically better chance of winning this fall than anyone else we could nominate, given the current field.